we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome back to another episode of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. Why are we back when the season has already ended? Because let's be honest, we don't want to talk more about what happened last season. Oh gosh, I tell you, I aged about 10 years during it. James doesn't look like he has though. How are you doing, James Johnstone?
Oh, thank you very much. I was going to say, if you've aged 10, then I must have done 20, but
God,
no, I'll go with a compliment instead of the negatives. But no, it's one of the like we talked about countlessly on WhatsApp in the group and then on WhatsApp between each other. I think it's one of the first times I've watched since '95, and I think it's the first season that I've been like, can we end? Please. Yeah. I've never wanted the football to end, but for some reason this year I'm like, get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Same. Yeah. Usually I'm itching to watch it, keep watching football. My dad said to me, you've been watching the Nations League. I went, I'm taking a month off. He went, but it's not Arsenal. And I went, I don't care what it is. If I see a football being kicked, I feel nauseous. I said, I don't want to see it.
I had someone saying to me the other day, Cor, weren't England bad against Cameroon? I went, generally didn't know that we were playing. Yeah. They're like, what? I went, generally didn't know that the game was on. Yeah. I said, I've laughed at El Hadji Diouf rinsing Carragher saying about, no African players or no African teams and all this. And he's just like, well, we've spanked you 3-1 now, Carragher. So, but other than that, I honestly, I wouldn't have known. I didn't know that England were playing the other night. Didn't have a clue. Like you, I'm like, I don't care until Arsenal pre-season's on. Even this, Club World, whatever it is,
Doping World Cup, yeah.
That's it, yeah. I saw someone call it the Udopa League on Twitter, and I thought, I like that.
We'll use that. Yeah, I'm not watching any of it. No. I've got the Arsenal pre-season schedule in the back of my mind. I'm checking out when the fixture list pops out pretty soon. But that,
I'm surprised you ain't been offered the tickets, because I heard that they've cut the prices from $250 to $300 to now even $40 or $35
for the Club World Cup. Is that?
Yeah.
Look, they can't sell them, can they? They can't sell them.
Right. What is wrong with you?
If you win it, you get what we got in the Champions League this season. It's doped, isn't it? It's so doped.
Yeah.
Just chuck in all the dope clubs and see what happens. But yeah. I don't want any part of it. I hope some. Up Salzburg, however they got there. Hope they.
Yeah, come on, Wellington Phoenix, whatever your name is. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly. This is the big Purely Arsenal transfer podcast. We do it every year. We usually do it a little bit earlier, in fairness, but thankfully Arsenal haven't done bugger all, so this is early enough, because unlike all the other big clubs who have decided to spend 200 million right out the gate, Arsenal are they're advancing FC. They're advancing, and they're sort of prepping all areas before they decide to actually move on anybody. But not quite true. There is a couple of things that look like they're done with Arsenal. It's just not the areas that many Arsenal fans will want. I mean, just before we get into it, the way this podcast is going to work this year, slight adjustment maybe from last year, is we give out a budget, a rough estimated budget, which I'll go through. We'll give out what our wishes are positionally, what we think is going to happen. Some of them we might not have to talk about too much, because some of them might already be set, and others we obviously know we need to do a lot more work as we move up the pitch. It's certainly going to be that way. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit, 10 minutes or so, what we actually think Mikel and Berta will do, because that's really the relevant piece here. We might talk about that as we go as well, and then we'll do a little bit on sales, which for Arsenal should be pretty flipping quick, because let's be honest, Saudi Arabia don't like us and we can't sell to anyone else, and our biggest sale is still Oxlade-Chamberlain, which is pathetic. So that won't be very big. I don't personally see the big sale coming this summer either, but you never know, could surprise you. There are definitely players that it could happen to. I'm just not sure it's ones that we'd want to sell, which is sometimes the way it is with big money sales. Not the way it is for other teams though. Liverpool end up getting 70 million for Darwin Núñez, who can't hit a barn door. If he was with us, we'd be offered 12 million on a loan. Oh dear. But so James, before we start and we say the budget, we are June 13th. We're 2 weeks or so into the window. We're in this little interim period of, a week where the window closes. I don't think it really matters. I mean, Chelsea were signing people back in February, so I don't think it really matters. But how do you feel, knowing what everyone else has done in the league? How are you feeling at this moment in time about Arsenal's transfer window and transfer plan?
Yeah, so I'm not going to, I've seen a lot of people completely flip their lid. I'm not going to do that. The problem for me, however, is that, and we've spoken about this countless times, so we're probably just going to keep repeating ourselves, but it's nice to share with the others to see if they maybe have the same sentiment. For me, especially that winger and that centre forward, that's nearly 5 years that he's been in charge, and we've pretty much been wanting to address that properly every window that he's had since he's been in charge. So that is, to me, an immediate need. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's an immediate need to the people that are in charge at the club, Jack. And we've got other clubs that have an immediate need, and you see it and then it's done. And I know people go, oh yeah, but you've just mentioned it about them being doped and et cetera, et cetera. To me, Liverpool pretty much are at the same financial wise as Arsenal. I'm not saying they're the same club, because I know that's, you're just going to line yourself up for criticism, but the way they operate and the way they are financially, other than their wage bill, which I think is astronomical compared to our one, but they like to keep that under wraps. They don't like to talk about that. But I think we operate in the same sort of way. And obviously I know that Trent went, so they had to go get a right back, but people like Wirtz, they got another goalkeeper that obviously they had done before. And what I don't understand is that Liverpool get linked with a player the Tuesday, and by the Wednesday or the Thursday, it's done. Us, like you said earlier, oh, we're interested. Oh, we like him. Oh, can we just stop going, well, they're interested in him, or they like him. I need to see the bids. And that goes for the sales as well. And that's something that, we spoke about the other day that I quite liked from what I'm hearing about from, I thought the Berta appointment was a massive one. And it was real. It's a real make or break, because for me, Jack, and I don't want to go into this conversation so early, but this is his most important. We seem to say it every season, but this is his most important window, because for me, if this goes wrong, potentially by Christmas, and if not by Christmas, then definitely in the summer, he's out. If he finishes with Neil Poir again, he's done. I mean, if we're mathematically out of the title race, and we're struggling in that Champions League format at Christmas time, he could even be done then. So it is arguably the most important window of his tenure, because the clock is ticking on him in terms of him needing to deliver one of the major trophies to this football club. So I think, I'm not panicking, but definitely got to speed up a bit. We've got to see something. And plus, we've already got the first shiny kit out. We've seen the other two. We all know what the designs are going to be, and we've seen them. But if you want to shift them other two kits as well as this nice new home kit, I think people want new players to go and put on the back of these shirts as well.
Yeah, they want that 10 and 14 taken up by proper players. It still really grates on me, the fact that that's been absent for 12 months. I spoke to my brother about it, and he was like, well, it's no big deal. I went, it is a big deal. To me, it is a big deal. I was like, it's not a big deal if we were 8th, and, but this is the best team we've seen in a long time. And for some reason, we've not addressed those two positions to make sure those numbers are given to the right players. Of course, you could give them, certainly, I would have no problem Odegaard taking the 10. But the fact is, those two numbers have been, whatever reason, left absent. And we know that. And if you want to sell those shirts, go get top players with those two numbers on it. They will fly off the shelves, won't they? And I think you speak really good on the other clubs and what they've done, specifically Liverpool, because there is a comparison there. The wage bill is different, but in terms of what we spend across the course of the Premier League, really, you can see that it's quite level. Liverpool did a ton in the 90s, early 2000s. We've done a lot more in the last 5-10 years because we've been a little bit below where they are, and then again they're going again, right? So I think that's where the frustration is. The other frustration, James, is I think our targets, or our positional targets, should have been identified far earlier than Liverpool's or City's, for example. I think everyone knows where we need to strengthen, and they've known it for probably at least 12 months, or like me and you, longer. We've been saying this sort of stuff. So it should have been narrowed down to that point. There's not really an excuse. Berta's been in for plenty of time. There's not really an excuse not to be moving pretty early on these players. Like you say, it's only mid-June, no pre-season starting, I presume, until early weeks of July, days of July, so there is still time. But yeah, we definitely need to start moving on targets, because we don't move quickly on targets. So once we've identified them and started putting bids in, that's just the start of it, isn't it, for us, really? It's not, we don't do things like Liverpool do, where they hear about a player like Frimpong one day and 2 days later they're found in the shirt. That doesn't really, I don't really
so
recall that.
Our first pre-season game is in
23rd?
I think it's 23rd, so it's about 6 weeks away.
Yeah, which means we're probably back 4 weeks. There's probably a 2-week period there.
Exactly.
So you're talking July 10th-ish, probably.
Yeah.
So if we were a month from now, I'd be. We've got what we've got. I'd be panicking. But a month is a long time in the transfer window, so let's see. The budget I've given us is 235 mil. To put that in perspective, when we did, I don't recall what I said last year, but when we did it 2 years ago, I think we did it. I think we've given our budget around a little bit lower than that, maybe 215, 210. And we actually 2 years ago, we were around that number in terms of what we spent. So 235 would be our biggest summer ever. But we've spent quite close to that already when we signed Havertz, Timber, Raya, Rice. I know Raya was on loan, but still, that was about a 210-ish million window. So I think 235 million with our needs and what we need is pretty realistic. I would be slightly surprised if it went too much higher than that, basically because I don't think the sales are going to be as good as they were last year, unless there's a random big sale in there, which I'm not anticipating at this point. Maybe we'll get to the sales and you'll say it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility, but I'm not anticipating it at this point from what I'm hearing. So 235 mil. Let's start, James. You go, I go, positional. Let's do it like that. And this one shouldn't be too long, because it's goalkeeper. Now, for goalkeeper, just a quick thing is, lots of people thought Garcia. I said early, I think we all did, that I couldn't understand how such a good goalkeeper, young goalkeeper, would come to us to play second fiddle to David Raya, even for a year or two when he's been a number one in La Liga. That turned out not to be the case. He's gone to Barcelona. Looks like he's going to have a chance to start there. Great goalkeeper, but would have cost us about 25 million. And it looks like, James, we've got Kepa coming in now. I mean, that deal looks about as close to being done as done. What are your thoughts on that and the goalkeeper position in general going into the season?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people have reservations because he's from a certain club that people don't like us buying players from. I can understand that. I've come on here and I've said the same about when we've signed Jorginho. I had the same sort of thing when we had Havertz, but if people can remember, and I don't want to toot mine and your horn here, but me and you both said, if this is a 9 option, this is going to be fantastic, because I said play him as a centre forward, do not play him as a midfielder, because he isn't one. And that was before he even kicked the ball for us. Bear in mind, we both said, if this guy's coming in as a backup or a starting 9, fantastic, because he's not a midfielder. But for me, when you get the most expensive goalkeeper in the history of the game for £5 million, a lot of people keep talking about, if Arsenal see a market opportunity, To me, this is evidence of them seeing a market opportunity. I think you're getting a very, very, as much as there are potential flaws to his game, he is nowhere near as bad as Matt Turner, Renarsson, Neto. So, he plays at the national team still. All right, he might be second, maybe third choice in some of them squads, but he knows David Raya. David Raya knows him. They've trained, they go and train. So for me, touch wood, nothing does happen, because for me, Jack, David Raya, for me, like the official club when they did the player of the season, I think he didn't make the top 3, but I think he was definitely in the top 5. Well, for me, he made my top 3 in terms of players of the season for us. So, touch wood, nothing does happen to him. But if something did, at least there with Kepa, he's a Premier League experienced goalkeeper. The play style is somewhat similar. He's not as good with his feet, but he can do it if need be. So I think that's a great deal. I think that's a fantastic signing. Last year with Raya, not the first few rounds when we had the bad teams, but he ended up playing the Carabao and he ended up playing the FA Cup as well, because Neto was just so bad. I know he was cup tied for the Carabao, but we didn't even trust him in that FA Cup game against United. They were like, no, we're not playing you, mate. So at least with this guy, he will actually play. I think he will play every single minute of those cups. I don't think Raya will play in any of those cups. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. I think for £5 million, I think that is a steal. Personally, I think that's a really, really good bit of business. And people are going to be shocked at me being positive about something, I think.
No, I agree. I mean, it should be that quick to talk about a backup goalkeeper, really. It should be like solid, reliable.
Yeah. I don't understand the people that are getting so upset over. I'm like, we're not doing another 30 mil on a goalie.
And we shouldn't. I think this is one thing I'll add. I don't know, but I immediately, when this happened, felt this was the first sign of Berta doing something alongside the Gabriel contract. But I was like, I think we would have pushed really hard to get Garcia under Edu, personally. And this feels like, okay, you clearly need a second goalkeeper. You're worried about it because it was a problem last pre-season, if you remember. Raya was away. We didn't have a second goalkeeper in. We had to use Hine, who we knew was going away. We had to use a lot of these young kids like Setford in large proportions of the pre-season, and it wouldn't have helped his preparation. We basically didn't have enough goalkeepers. And Berta probably saw, what Mikel's like with his defenders and goalkeepers, and he went, boom, let me just get it done. And I think that's a really shrewd deal to do. Of course, yeah, ex-Chelsea's always gonna worry people, but in terms of a backup goalkeeper, I think it's a really clever deal to do. I do find it slightly interesting that Bournemouth weren't really pushing for this signing. He did really well for them. They clearly liked him. He started every week for them. Did you find that a little bit weird, a little bit strange that there wasn't really any sign of Bournemouth going in for him? Or do you think there's more to it, something that we're not aware of, maybe?
Well, the price, Jack, is that because we're a club in the Champions League or anything?
Oh, because he agreed to a release clause.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, maybe Bournemouth don't have that because they don't have. I mean, they didn't even make Europa or the conference, did they? In the end, I think Bournemouth. I think they ended up with nothing.
They ended like ninth or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was because we've got European foot. I don't know if the price of it would have been higher for them. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's something like that that's swayed it. But like you said, I think that's like we've just mentioned. I think it's really good business for £5 million. I think that's I think it's a great deal. I really do.
Yeah,
because he's a much better goalkeeper than we've had previously, and he was probably. I bet you we paid more than £5 million for Turner. We probably did.
But we did. I think we did play 7 or 8, and then we recouped about that from Forest. But yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he was dreadful. He's gone to Leon, I think, hasn't he, for a similar price?
I don't know. I know that he was. I know that he was the backup keeper on loan at Palace, weren't he, last season?
Yeah,
and then but yeah. Oh well, if he's gone again.
Yeah, he's gone to Leon, I think. But wow. So that's it. I mean, I don't think there's much more to discuss at goalkeeper. That's it. Hine will go back out again. Hopefully, we can get a fee for Hine this time and not loan him out again. It feels like don't think it'll be a nominal fee. I don't know how well we did. Was it Valladolid that he was with? Or?
Yeah, I know they spoke about him quite well, and he, I believe I saw it on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, the other day, that he's been wearing the armband for Estonia. So if he's there, if he's the international captain already, then well, I'm like, again, that's what you're punting, in your head. You 2.5, 3 mil, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you get close to the Kepa fee. Maybe you get close to the Kepa fee. You never know. I think you're probably about right there. Yeah, but it'll be something. Hopefully, I don't think we should be loaning him again. I think we should be selling Hein at this point. I don't think we need to keep him around. But
no.
I watched him in a bit in pre-season as well, and he's not good with his feet. He's not good with his feet at all.
Yeah.
I remember watching him against Bournemouth in the first game over here, and I was like, he ain't good with his feet at all. But because I was wondering if we were going to keep him as backup, so I was like quite curious to watch him, but he didn't look great. But so goalkeeper's done, which is good. It's good for Mikel Arteta, settles it. I think that's good. Now we get to the defence. I think we'll do this in 2. So full-backs, obviously we've got Timber and White at right back. Hopefully, touch wood, they both stay fit. And we've got Lewis Skelly and Calafiori at left back. Plus you could say Tomiyasu and Zinchenko in there as well. Do you think we're going to do... What are your wishes? What are your wishes at fullback? Do you want to do anything at all?
So, not trying to jump the gun, but I will because you've asked it. If I can get rid of Zinchenko, I'm doing it. There has been a link there. But like I said earlier, with AC Milan, like I said earlier about what I like about Berta, Berta apparently has said to AC Milan, because they're worrying about the fee and the wage, and he's gone, well, make a bid. Unless you come to the table with something, we can't.
Exactly.
What are we discussing? Because you're not, until you put your cards on the table and I can have a look at them and then we can jig it about or move it this way, move it that way. What are we doing here? So, if for me, I think, and it's amazing to say this because of how well we did do when he first initially come in. I think this team's past the Zinchenko now. Especially in terms of a left back. Last season, when he come in and he was playing more of the 6, I could go, well, do you know what? You're an option maybe as a backup 6. But in terms of left back, I think this team's way past what Zinchenko can do in that position. Because the defensive structure of this team, Jack, like you mentioned to me time and time again, 7 less goals than any team in the league last season. Well, if you're playing players like him, you ain't going to be 7 goals better. We've seen it. He just isn't mobile enough. He isn't, that way. He's not defensively inclined, really. He's more of a offensive player that plays at left back. So, if he can go, great. We've already sold Tavares, and Kieran Tierney's gone. So for me, that's 3 left backs really that I'm looking to. 2 have already got off the books. And you've got, to me, Calafiori, when he did play centre-back, he was much better. I could see straight away in those games that he did play centre-back with Kivior towards the end of the season. I was like, bloody hell, he's so much better. I know a lot of people come for me because I went at Calafiori and I was just like, look, I'm saying what I can see. This guy cannot defend. He's brilliant going that way and his hair and everything looked great. He's shocking defensively. Yeah. I'm like, he looks like an absolute liability defensively. Yeah. Will he get better the more time? Definitely. Like Kivior. A lot of people thought Kivior was I went, let him have a run of games and you'll see how good he is. Yeah. And a lot of people have come round on that. I know Neil and Mike and me, we had a big chat about Kivior earlier in the season as well when we were saying, look, let him have a run of games because he is not as bad as all of you make him out to be. So for me, and I know people will want to press me on names, especially at fullback. Very difficult, but I think if there's, again, this magical word of market opportunity, if there's someone there that's not really going to disrupt massively, because I think that's Miles. For me now, Miles Lewis-Skelly has earned that position. That is his position. That's his shirt. Someone's got to come in there and take that off him. But I think if there's a good, somewhat maybe young or even experienced, like what Kepa is, fullback, left-footed, then I would go in there. But again, I know you're going to, because Hato for me, Jack, moves more of it into centre-back discussion than left-back discussion.
Have you seen
I know he plays both.
Have you seen his data on last season, though?
Well, he played more as a centre-back, right?
No, last season. Let me make sure I've got this right. I should have had it up while you were saying it, because I knew you were going to mention him. Last season, I believe there was a stat that came out last season that said he played about 45 games at left back. And only 2 to 3 games at centre back. Now, I want to make sure I'm right there, but here we go. We got his positional statistics here.
Apologies to viewers and listeners, because the Dutch football is not on English television at all anymore. And I know that my brain does stretch, but I do not watch Ajax on a weekly or semi-weekly basis. So I would not have a clue. I would not have a clue about any Ajax player, I'm afraid, and where he's been playing.
So it's weird. Football Critic listed it because Transfer Market doesn't seem to list his positions.
No.
But last 50 matches, centre back twice, midfielder once, 46 games at left back.
Okay, and if they got on there roughly what his value would be, have they got like a rough price that they? Because I know Transfer Market gives you a rough. Don't they? They give you a rust. They give you a rust estimate. To be honest, they give you a rust estimate of what they believe he's worth.
Well, I tell you what. Other thing we should do, James, is we should check his height, because his height. He's height. You know what Mikel's like.
Yeah.
In feet. What is that in feet? No. Yeah, he's 5'10".
Okay.
Yeah. He's a fullback. Yeah. Well, in Mikel's head, he's a fullback. Yeah. If that's right. He's 182 centimetres, which.
And what's? Do you know what? I could probably do the same. So apologies if people hear me typing.
Yeah, he's I think he's 5'10", 5'11" tops. Yeah. Weird. He looks taller than that. Interesting.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So, God, see, Jack. That's. They're saying he's 35 million euros.
See, here's the thing. So I put Hato was my one. I hate doing it because I don't want to put any defenders down on my list.
Yeah,
but Hato, I think Partey could leave. I don't think he will, but I think if he does leave, I think he might address it in this way. And the reason I say that is, I think the way you get, because Hato's wanted by Chelsea, right? Now Chelsea would start him. Because they'd start him at centre-back because he's better than Colwill, I think. Yeah. I think he'd be better than Colwill.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But he might not see it that way. He might look at Colwill's been in the Premier League 2 or 3 years. He's not going to start left-back for them, though, I don't think, necessarily.
No, he loves Cucurella. Yeah, he loves Cucurella.
So it's an interesting one for them as well. It's not like a given that he just walks in. So how do you sell it to Hato? Well, if you say to Hato, Lewis Skelly's going to become part 6. I think if you say it like that, I personally think Lewis Skelly for sure will be our starting left back next season. But if you say we're going to use him in midfield as well, then and you do what you say with Calafiori and use Calafiori as your left centre back cover, then there is an opening really there, isn't there? A lot of left back minutes there.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And that's where I've put Hato down. He was literally a question mark on my wants, and that's where I've put him down as I didn't have a fee, but I'm saying what you're saying, about 30 million. Well, I don't know how long his contract is. That'll probably play into it as well, won't it? I think he signed a new contract.
I just had that open and I've closed it. 1 second, I'll get it back.
2028, so he's got 3 years.
Good man.
I remember last year he signed, because we were after him last year, right? And he signed a new contract. But because Ajax are out of Europe, or are they out of Europe? No, they're not. They're in the Champions League.
I don't think so. Yeah,
they finished second.
Right. Because you're going to ask me about centre backs, aren't you? In a second.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you can include
to me
that now.
Well, this is it. Let me double check here. No, I haven't put any centre backs for sale, so that's good. He can cover both for me. So do you know what? I'm going to add is 35 million. I'm going to dump that in there. But I think to me, that's quite a big chunk.
It is.
But you never know if we make some...
it is lightly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, we don't love it, but it's lightly under Mikel Arteta.
The thing as well is that, and again, moving on to that centre-back discussion, I saw a lot the other day about Mark Guehi being linked. Now,
I don't like it.
I'm a fan of the player, Jack. However, he is a captain and he starts every single week.
Not coming in, is he?
He is not coming in to me, he's not coming in as a backup. Now, the big link as well in the summer was Huijsen, because again, might be the word of the pod. You know, on Sesame Street where they have the magic letter. I think market opportunity might be the magic word of this podcast. They saw Huijsen and went, Saliba's probably going to go. Not this season, maybe next. We'll get the new contract down that will have a bigger clause for us to sell him for.
That early.
Yes. So it's like, but Huijsen, and I'm sorry, a lot of people can come at me, whatever. He is a generational centre-back. As the first time I watched him at Bournemouth, and I saw bits of him when he was at Juve, but I watched him properly when he was I was like, bloody hell, he is the real, 6'5", but the way that he can pass a ball as well as absolutely just churn you up when he's dribbling or whatever, I was like, that is a generational centre. And he's at Real Madrid now. So watch him, because he's only going one way, and it certainly ain't that. He's like a rocket to the moon, that kid. And he would have been about 35, 40 million, right? I think he went in the end to Madrid. So I think to myself, Hato, where he's a left footer though, Mikel doesn't play the two lefties very often together unless he has to. He played Calafiori and Kivior at the end together because we had to. But yeah, he don't like playing multiple lefties. So for me, if Hato's coming in, he's definitely coming in as a left-back option. So I'm going to leave him. Have you left him in? Have you put him in?
I've put him in based off of a thought process on sales. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to leave him in, and I'm going to go. I'll go for the 35 mil, like it says on Transfer Market.
Okay. So me and you,
because I think they're probably going to. I think they're going to look at that and go again. That's young. He's been a captain at Ajax. Previous link, Timber. The way the guy spoke about Timber and the way Timber speaks about him, I think they'll look at that and go, he's something special. I don't want Miles Lewis-Skelly to be displaced, and I don't think he will be. No. But like you said, there's plenty of minutes there in that position. Because really, if Lewis-Skelly isn't playing left-back, who is playing there?
Right.
He's
not really proven it yet.
It's either Calafiori or Kivior, and Kivior's shown he's much better as a centre half, and to me, so's Calafiori. So I do think that we need a backup left back. If there's someone out there that I don't know that's cheaper, and by all means, tweet me it or put it in the comments on the video below, because I'd love to know. Yeah. But yeah, okay, I'm going to leave Hato. Yeah. I'm locking it in.
Yeah, we're locking it in. We're both at 40 million at the moment with Kepa and Hato. Some people have said we need a right centre back, and I get where they're coming from.
Yes.
In terms of who replaces Sleeper and when he's there, I think it's Ben White, and the reason I think it's Ben White is I actually do think. I know White was unfit and he was injured and we didn't see the best of him when he came back. But I actually do think Timber is ahead of Ben White. I think he's ahead of Ben White personally anyway. I think even if you regarded them both as coming, hopefully they're both fully fit coming into this season, because I think it will be brilliant rotation. I don't want Timber playing that much, and I don't want Ben White playing as much as he did the last 2 years. So that is a perfect balance. But either way, Ben White's minutes will be greatly reduced now that Timber's at the level that he's at, right? So he can become the right centre-back cover. We're completely basically disregarding Tomiyasu here. And I don't know, I think you remember when I said we had the best defence in the league last season by like 7 goals. And we had a lot of injuries back there. White was out for 6 months. Gabriel 3 months. Calafiori had 5 different injuries. Tomiyasu didn't play a minute barely, and he played 22 games the previous season. Less minutes, but a lot of closing out of games, stopped us conceding leads like the 14 that we conceded this season, right? And I think people are just saying Tomiyasu's done now. Well, maybe he comes back and does play a little bit next season. There's a good chance he plays more than he did this season, next season. So are we going to have even the most...
He's another one, Jack. If he's fit and he can go, because he hasn't gone, he's another one where I think he'll get more centre back than right back minutes. Just from the point of view of, and we've seen it with Tomiyasu when he was in his pomp. He heads everything. He don't win. Like we go on about Arteta and this winning duel. He don't lose nothing in the air, Tomiyasu. No. And look at how bad we got set piece defending wise when Gabriel was out. We were conceding goals from set piece because Gabriel just from source, bang, get it away. Don't want that, get that as far away from my box as I can. And Tomiyasu's the same way inclined. Tomiyasu is, I want that ball back down that way. It ain't coming this way. So, I'm banking a lot on him potentially being, whether he, I always used to say about Kieran Tierney being in a federal witness protection program, but I think that's moved on to Tomiyasu now. We don't know where he is at all. It would just be nice to see him, just to see that he's still, he still exists. But
we don't really know what the injury is either. We don't want to speculate on that. But we don't really know. There's been other centre backs linked to us. A Brazilian centre back yesterday was linked to us from Lille. Who's just got his first Brazilian caps. I think Ribeiro, I think it is. I think he's more of a right centre-back. That would be a little bit cheaper. Look, don't get me... I personally would be absolutely fine if we don't touch the defence. And I don't want to... We've both put Hato down, but the caveat there for me is if that affects any of the signings that we're going to talk about in the attack, I do not want that. And I do not believe that centre-back signing... I think it will, by the way, but I don't think that centre-back signing should be happening before any of those attacking signings. Because, and some people say, well, it doesn't matter about the order. Last summer proves it does. Because we ended up spending striker money on a left-back and an 8 and getting Sterling in the last week of the window. So order does matter because evidence suggests that we might use it elsewhere. And I think that's what we did. And for those people that say, oh, we're only after our number one targets, well, that's going to be pretty silly when we don't get the targets we wanted last summer, this summer probably in attack. So yeah, I like Hato. I like him a lot. I've watched him quite a bit, and I think he's only like 19 and he's been captain as well at times for Ajax and things like that. He's got a lot about him, I think, but don't need it though. I think it will happen, so I'll put it down, but I don't need it. But if we were going to get one, that'd be the one I'd pick. Anything else on the fence? What do you reckon? Pretty good? Yeah.
I'm good. Let me double check. Sorry, because I can't remember if I said I'd flog any more of them. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I've got my flogs, but I'll come to it in the next recap.
In terms of the sales, how much was it 7.5 mil or 7 mil that Tavares went for?
I put 7 mil.
I think it was 7, weren't it?
Yeah, I think it might have said a little bit more, but maybe it said in euros or something. So I'm just putting 7 mil down in my in the sale.
Yeah. So that's 7 million we've already made. So.
And we've got a bit of a sell-on clause there, and he's been linked, hasn't he, already to Saudi for like 40
Yes, and what made me laugh is all the English journos said that it's only 25%, and all the Italian ones have come out and said they're lying. It's 40.
Sounds about right.
So, I'm like a 40% clause on Tavares. That's a masterstroke. I don't know if that's an Edu or whoever put that one in. But I'm like, that's, especially this Saudi club are looking at paying 40 million for him. So for us to get 40% on the 40 mil,
take that.
Well played, guys. Well done.
Take that. Hope it happens. Yeah, hope it happens.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, absolutely. The 6. Now, Zubimendi, do we both agree that we'd be pretty stunned if Zubimendi doesn't come in?
I have never seen the established, and I call them the Arsenal, you done your list. Everybody go check out Jack's list because it is a guide of this transfer window.
It really is, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, most people should know it by now anyway. But
they should.
I think it's your pin. It's one of your pinned tweets. Is it?
I'm going to pin it.
I think it already is. But if not,
should pin it.
If not, people go read it because it is the guide of the guides. Ornstein, Romano, Mockbell, they've all said, I have not seen them go so adamant on something. So if it does not happen, I think, not only are fans going to be a meltdown, but they are really going to come. Because the one thing that these lot all hate, and I don't know if they will listen. If they do, hello. Appreciate you do listen. But the one thing they hate is being called a fraud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they will get blistered, more than a marathon runner gets blistered. They will have blisters if Zubimendi does not come in. Jack, I've backed it and I've put him on my list for the 55 million because that apparently is what it is.
Yeah, 55.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to change mine. I put 51 for some reason, but
I heard it was 55. I thought the clause was 55.
Oh well, do you know what? You're right. I think the clause it might be 51, but there has been a lot of reports saying we are going to pay above the clause in order to get the payment structure better for us, so we don't have to pay so much up front. So I'll put in 55 down.
Okay,
which actually helps me out a little bit because it lets me meet budget.
And Jack, this signing is going to completely, I know we're going to touch on later on what we want to do forward-wise, but in terms of our style of play and what we're going to do moving forward, this guy is going to be huge for it. He's going to be absolutely huge for it because if you look at the season just gone, and as much as people laud Thomas Partey, and for me, when you've got Thomas Partey and he is in full flow, he is arguably one of the most entertaining and elegant players for me to watch. However, he's declining in his mobility. If you look at his pass map for last season and the majority of where his passes have gone, they're all sideways or backwards. His forward passing has decreased every season. And I've got it here, funny enough. So in 22-23, he made 8.37 passes forward. In 23-24, he made 6.93 passes forward. And in 24-25, his passes forward was at 5.40%.
Wow.
So we need somebody in that six that's going to go, do you know what? I'm comfortable bringing it out, but instead of going these side, I'm going to go over the top, or I'm going to go round, or I'm just going to go central. The few times last season when we were all saying it, why don't no one just pick the ball up and go through the middle? We're always trying to, let's go this way, let's go that way. And then everybody sets, we're so bad against these deep blocks because we just go round. And then they're like, just set, because they'll just pass themselves to death, and then we'll probably get them on the counter. Well, Zubimendi is just direct. He's just so direct. So I think that's going to completely revolutionise our game, which we need to do, because we've mentioned it defensively, we're fine. It's the other part that we really need to sort out. And getting Zubimendi in will be absolutely massive. Now, the caveat to that, in terms of what you said here at 6, is what do you do with Thomas Partey? Well, for me, I think because he's primarily going to be the backup. If he wants to and he agrees to it, no problem for me. But if he's holding us to a ransom and he's mucking us around and everything, I'm sorry, for me, and I won't go into it because, there's an absolute massive spiral. However, what I will say is the way this club's been with that player the last couple of seasons, he should be, the minute we go like that with anything, he should be doing that. He should be grateful that that's even going his way. That's all I'll say on that. Yeah. He should be going, it is an honour that you're even doing that to me. There you go.
He's mulling over it, isn't he? We should give him a deadline on it, really, because it does change things. I mean, we just spoke about it. I get this feeling that we don't want him to stay as much as people and Ornstein are making out, because I think we offered that deal very late.
Yeah. Well, he's declining. mobility wise, and like I've put there in his numbers, he's, I hear from people all the time, oh yeah, but it's his passing, the way he splits. I'm like, well, I've just read to you. I'm like, it's not there. It's not there.
Right. And I do think, whilst he had his best year in terms of being injury free, I think there's something to be said when a player in a contract year tends to have an outlier season. And I expect that when you give him a 2 or 3 year contract, those things might return to the sort of status quo, if you like, and back to the norm. We've seen how motivated players are to do their extra treatment and rehab and pre and post stuff when they know they got their final contract coming up here. Aubameyang, Ozil, and they can fool you a little bit. They can fool you a little bit when that final. And I hope if he does stay, I won't moan about it but it has to be on our terms. So it's a 1+1 or something like that. Yeah, but we can't be giving out 3-year contracts to players like that, in my opinion, because he's on 200 grand a week, and he massively limits us wage-wise in terms of getting in a younger player in that position. If we do get rid of Partey, at the moment I'm very 50-50 on it, but I've put him down as a sale, not a sale, as a free transfer.
Same as me, yeah. I've said he's going.
I've had to because of the Hato stuff, because it wouldn't, in my head, it doesn't make sense the way the squad would work. But if we say Partey is going, do you worry at all about the 6 options that we would have if we don't get in another other than Zubimendi?
Oh god, yeah, because I'm like, who's going to play there? I know Lewis.
Rice will play there a bit though. At all, because I just wonder with Marino.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a great point. I could see him potentially doing it because Moreno, is much better. Even towards the end of the season, even as an 8, he was improving. And I mean, when we get further down, a certain someone who plays at that top end of the pitch, well, if we're doing what we're doing, he ain't starting in that position. So is he going to go back to being an 8 again?
Yeah.
And I don't want him to be, but Mikel loves him that much that he would play him back as an 8 again. So it's a very, very interesting one. I mean,
you could see a midfield of, honestly, big game, big away game. You could see a midfield of Zubi, Rice, Marino, couldn't you? You could.
Yes. Yeah.
Could. Do you see what I mean? The previous of Zubimendi and Moreno playing at Sociedad together, right. The relationships there. Yeah. So they know how each other play. So yeah, you could definitely see it. Yeah.
You could definitely see it.
I mean, I'd be fine with Zubi, Luis Skelly, Rice as possible options at a 6. I've got what did we have this year? We had Partey, Jorginho, obviously maybe a little bit more experience, but Zubimendi, we're hoping comes in early and hits the ground running, and lots of top teams.
Yeah, he needs to.
A long period. He needs to. Yeah, that we really need him to. And I think some of the signings we've made a big
like
part
we said
of that.
About immediate need and starting. He's starting.
Yeah.
The minute he's announced, he's starting every if not every game, as close to nearly every game.
And Partey will know that as well.
Yeah.
And that's my feeling on. Now, I'm kind of more maybe 55% in the boat that he might not sign that contract and he'll go elsewhere. He'll go to Saudi or he'll go to Spain or whatever, And I'm fine with it either way. I just want to know. Do you know what I mean? I just want to know because it gives us clarity. So I hope in the next week we've given him sort of a deadline. We should give him a deadline really with that.
Yeah.
Don't know how much you can implement a deadline like that, but for now we'll say. What we've said for the 6, Zubimendi.
Whoa, just quick before we finish it off. Mr. Sambi Lokonga got given another deal, didn't he?
From us?
Yeah.
Oh, did we just extend it in order to make it?
We extended it, yeah. They've said that his value is €8 million. I think we're lucky if we make 6. So I'm putting him down as a sale jack for 6 million.
Wow. Oh,
I don't know who. I don't know where.
I didn't even think of him as a sale.
I can't see him getting it. I don't know if this is going to be like a Coquelin Mark II where it's gone right. This is last chance saloon, and we put him on the pre-season and see what he does. But I can't see him getting games for us.
No.
I'd be very, very shocked. Now, I know that's bit me in the arse before because I said Kieran Tierney would never kick a ball again for Arsenal when he kicked many a ball. So, but yeah, I'm looking at Lokonga and I'm thinking,
no, me neither. I think he's done. Yeah, I think he's done. You might see him in that first pre-season game, and then beyond that, I think he's pretty much done. Okay, let's go into the other midfield positions. The personal opinion, I don't think we'll do anything in the 8 position in terms of the left 8 and left centre mid position. I know there's talk about it. We might provide ourselves with another option there, but I don't think we'll do anything directly to address that position. Bought Marino last window. Havertz is an option there still. Rice is the option there. I find it difficult to believe we do anything specifically to address that position. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yep. I know a lot of people want one. But I think, and we talked about it privately and we'll bring it in here, but I think Nwaneri is seen as an 8 more than he's seen as a winger. So I think he's in there. Obviously, Doman's going to turn 16 now. I know Anthony's probably panicking, thinking that's another young player you're going, stop putting the pressure on. He will play. I'm not saying let's play Doman every single minute of every single game. But he's an option at 8. So I look at it and think, I know people want another one, but to me, I can't because there's players that we've already got within that squad who you'd want to give those minutes to.
Yeah.
So why would you buy another one? But, again, I've got no problem with having as many brilliant players as we can. I'm not against that. I know some people might be sat there thinking, "Oh, what, you're turning your nose up about." But no, if Arsenal could have variety galore across the pitch and they're all, top tier, I'll have them.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it with my, monetary head as well as a passion for the club head. And to me, and again, this is probably why I'm not in football and these people are, I don't see an immediate, and again, the magical word, market opportunity or immediate need. I don't see that in the 8 for us. Vieira got told he's got no part of pre-season and he will be sold. I saw that yesterday come out. So Porto unfortunately can't afford him. So God knows where he's going to go. Hopefully, if Wolves still love Portuguese players, we might be able to sell him to Wolves.
You think there'd be some takers for him just because of the type of player he is?
Yeah.
Maybe not even in England, but you think on a continent there'd be some takers for him. I don't know what our fee would be for him, maybe 10, 12 mil, something like that. But you'd think there'd be some takers.
I'm gonna have a look, Jack, at what old transfer market think he's worth. Let's have a butcher's.
Go on, have a look.
They reckon he's 22 million euros.
No chance. No way. Maybe if you were a good selling club.
I think if we get anything between 15 to 18, it's a miracle.
I think it'll be a loan with obligation. I'll put it down as a loan with obligation.
Yeah, probably.
We'll get a loan with obligation, maybe get a little bit more on the fee. I'll say loan with obligation at 12 million.
But I've spoken a lot there, so I'll throw it over to you. What do you think about 8-wise?
Did you mention a little bit on the Odegaard role? You just really focused on the left 8, didn't you? Really, I'm exactly
both. I think left and right. I look at it and think to myself, there's players, like I said, there's players within the squad that aren't getting those minutes that I think deserve them. So why would you buy more?
Exactly. He spent a ton of money at the left 8. Let's be honest, because Rice, maybe he thought he was a 6, but he's a left 8. You've spent nigh on 200 million in the left 8. We're not buying a guy specifically. That's why when people talk about Eze or Rodgers, I know they're sort of saying it because they think they can play as left wing, but they don't play as that. Not as far as I'm aware, anyway. Eze plays centrally, and I think Rodgers plays centrally most of the time I watch him. I don't really see those types of purchases happening for us because, as much as I like the players, Mikel Arteta wouldn't play them. He wouldn't play them. There's not a position for him in this setup. So it's kind of, I mean, obviously I want certain things, but within reason, it's got to be realistic to what the coach is actually going to do. I don't see it. And on the right side, if I jump ahead a little bit, that is a bit more interesting because we can't rely upon Odegaard the amount we did this season, because if he goes through a rut like he does again this season, we've got to have a different option. I think he missed a trick last season on not moving Saka there, and also not using Ranieri there. We spoke about it, didn't we? We felt we should have used Ranieri there a little bit more and a little earlier. We felt we would have learned against that, especially when we had those double games against Southampton and Leicester at home. I think we should have used him in those games, because I think we would have won them anyway, and you would have seen what you've got from him. But I think Ranieri will be used more in the Odegaard position next season, definitely more than he was this season. So again, and with Daumann coming through, I know he's only 15, 16, but he is being talked about like he's like literally the biggest thing coming through we've had, even bigger than possibly the likes of Saka and Lewis Skelly coming through. I don't see us making a huge purchase there either. What about you?
No, I'm the same. Just to track back slightly as well, where we've both said Partey's going to go. I know you said about Rice and maybe something. Have you put anything in for another 6, like a natural 6 per se, or have you left it? I've
left it because.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with you. Yeah, I'll do the same.
It's really hard. I mean, you mentioned Kamara. There's a Gume from Seville. Is it? Is it from Seville? That a lot of people talk about, young player, which I'd really like. I really would like a young 6 that is not too expensive to come in. I think it could happen. Definitely could happen if Partey leaves. Probably will happen if Partey leaves. But I wouldn't have an issue with him doing what we said and using Lewis Skelly a little bit in both if he really believes in Hayo. And I think it plays into Mikel Arteta anyway a little bit, because he naturally sort of draws to these types of defenders. So I don't know. I think I could be wrong there, and he could easily go and get a 6, but it's not easy to think of a 6 that is going to be worth less than 30-40 million, really. Is it really?
No. All right, I'll stick with you. I'll leave it blank as well.
So we're leaving that blank. We're leaving the left 8 blank, and we're leaving the right area blank, because we believe that Ranieri will get a little bit more minutes there. Yeah. So now we get into the interest part. What should we start with? Let's start with centre forward, because that's a little bit more active in the transfer window, and I guess we can discuss that a little bit. I was about an hour before this podcast, I was adamant I was just going to be talking about 2 strikers, but now, since I listened to Sam Dean speak a little bit and Simon Collins, I am a little sceptical on what we possibly do. But what do you think will happen at centre forward? Will we get one, first of all? I mean, we've got to get one, surely. But and who do you think it will be? Oh, sorry. Who do you want it to be? I'm way off there.
Okay. So who do I want? Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you want? Yeah.
I want Gyökeres. I haven't budged on that for nearly two or so years. So,
what do you think about the talk from Portugal in the last 2 days about us making a bid?
It's very interesting because a lot of them are saying that it was 65, which is this reported gentleman's agreement that was in place. And then I saw some Portuguese paper and source this morning before we started saying that we've bid 46, but with 10 million in add-ons.
That sounds like us.
And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, because you know that if you pay 65 because of this supposed gentleman's agreement, you've got the player. Right. So why are we bidding 56?
Doesn't make sense.
Well, to me, I'm like, that's not how we operate. You know, under this new regime that supposedly, I don't think Berta knows how important this is. So I can't see him going in there going, "I'll fluff them under the value." I'm like, you don't go under, do you? You either pay what it is, or you pay enough that there'll be a negotiate. You know straight away they're going to turn 56 down because it's 10 less than what the gentleman's agreement is. And this supposed gentleman's agreement, they've now gone, well, that was with you and Hugo Viana, who's now at Man City. There's a new person in charge now, and that new person's gone, screw that, we want full whack. You're the top scoring striker in Europe. All right, you're not in one of the top 5 leagues, but you're the main man in Europe. So, that gentleman's agreement's gone, and we want near what Marmoush and all them cost Man City, which, again, you mentioned it. They've doped it by paying silly money for players. They're good players. Don't get me wrong. I'd have loved Marmoush at Arsenal, but was he worth what Man City paid for him? No way. No way. Florian Wirtz, I think, is a brilliant player. Is he £120 million worth of player? To me, not really. No. I could see high 80s, maybe to 100, but the 115, 120, which they don't want to mention, but that's what they're really going to be paying.
Yeah, Liverpool exactly. They don't have calculators up there, so they ain't got a clue. They do this all the time. Liverpool, Germany have reported it as like million.
I'm shocked because they invent everything, so I'm surprised they didn't invent the calculator. So, but but there we go.
Yeah, they always underreport wages, fees, everything. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but so if we can sort this out, Jack, I want Gyökeres. Now, I've got no problem with Sesko, and again, this is another thing that we've all discussed and people will know. If we don't get Gyökeres, for me, we have to get Sesko. If we don't get Sesko, we have to get Gyökeres. So either way...
What do you think about Sam Dean's comments about saying he's had pretty good sources tell him in the last 2 weeks that those are not the only 2 names on the table, and that Watkins is not one of them? He doesn't believe Watkins will happen.
Well, for me, Jack, I look at it and I go, using the big scope that I have, who are 2 other clinical but also statuesque, because that Julian Alvarez link, for me, Jack, if he's there, pay it. Because to me, Julian Alvarez is a special. He's that good, and he can play across your front 3, and he can even play as a 10. So he's multifaceted, and he's fantastic. However, he ain't 6'4", 6'5".
No,
or 6'2", or 6'2", 6'3", like Gyökeres is. For me, unless I am completely blind, I don't know who else really are the clinical or potentially clinical, tall strikers that are on the market that that you can go and buy, because everyone else would already have them. I mean, unless this is all happening and somewhere out of nowhere we can pull Isak away.
Osimhen?
If that was an Osimhen is fantastic in the air, but he's not 6'5". Do you know? He ain't got that link-up play. Like I said earlier about Zubimendi and us wanting to play central, Jack, we're gonna want somebody that gives you what Kai Havertz gives you, but he's rapid. Not saying Kai Havertz is slow, but you got to be absolutely rapid and you got to be clinical. And to me, with the previous link to Sesko last season that we spoke about for ages on our last season's podcast, that to me would be Mikel Arteta's wet dream centre forward.
Yeah.
So unless you might be able to come out with some, but I don't. My mind is going completely blank on big, quick, and more clinical forwards that are out there. Because if they were, everyone else would already buy them. I mean, all right, he hasn't been brilliant for Man United, but the way Zirkzee was being talked about when he was at Bologna, was it?
Yeah.
You were seeing tall, statuesque, can play, link up, and he was being clinical. I don't see, that Retegui that's been linked with us from Atalanta.
Yeah.
Clinical player, but he's not 6 foot plus.
TK is another one.
Yeah. I will take any forward we can get right now.
Right. But you think we will get one? Yeah. And you think it will be you? Well, you want it to be Gyökeres. What fee are you putting on that? What do you think we'd get him for?
I think 65 to 70 million.
65. I'll put you down 65 mil.
Yeah.
All right. I've gone
because the way that he's kicking up makes me think that they're going to be like, because he's outright come out and said he's not playing for him ever again because of this, isn't he? So
yeah, because screwing him around with the fee.
Yeah, because they've reneged on the agreement. So I think they'll just be like, look, we'll cut our nose to spite our face and just let him go.
Well, I think they know they have to sell him this summer because and you know that release clause was sitting there for a year or two. Mm-hmm. He is definitely going to move. I mean, I think Sesko will too. The weird thing with the Sesko one is, if we've had such a long-standing interest for him, I find it a little bit odd that there hasn't been a confirmation of personal terms being agreed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought about it the other day and I was like, if we've had this long of an interest, he's known about it, we've known about it, his agent's known about it, we've been in for him longer than any other team. And at no point this window, despite the concrete talks that we're hearing about, have they said personal terms are not... They've not even said personal terms are not an issue. No, I've not seen anything like that where we're close to an agreement with the player. And I find that a bit strange. Whereas everything you hear in the rumours about Gyökeres is he really wants to come to us. He's waiting to hear from us, kind of thing. So I have to say, if those things are true, I much prefer the idea of having a player that really wants to be at us, you know, than a player that maybe is waiting for, I don't know, a different type of club or a bigger payday or whatever it might be. I choose Sesko because I like the profile and I like the age, and I think he might work better maybe in Arteta's system, but I would be absolutely happy with either. So I've put down Sesko. I said 75 mil.
Same as me. I reckon we're going to get Sesko and it'll be 75.
But you want Gyökeres, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put him down.
But that's just personal preference. I don't want people to think that I hate Sesko or I don't want Sesko.
Same. I'll be happy with either.
Like I said, if you're not getting Gyökeres, you got to get Sesko, and if you're not getting Sesko, you got to get Gyökeres, because I don't know who else is there.
Right.
Again, I'm happy to be told, you know, there's this player who plays in this league. He's amazing. Check him out. Yada yada yada.
Yeah. Same. There isn't. I mean, Osimhen was the one when he said that was the one that I was like, guess we've never really talked about Osimhen for about a year. Yeah. And that was the one that was like that. But for whatever reason, his entourage and everything around him has kind of put off a lot of big clubs. But he did turn down Saudi, which was quite interesting. I didn't expect him to do that. So I found that quite interesting. And he is an absolute goal machine, isn't he? So that was the only other one. The rest, Ekitike, Watkins, I couldn't see either. Been some links about Duran coming back to Europe, but once a player goes to Saudi like that, I don't think we'd go near him. Not at that age. We'd be worried about what their motivation is. But okay, this is the real tough one. Winger. Now, the winger is arguably the thing that we've needed the most, more than the six, more than the centre forward, and for the longest time. Mikel Arteta has never signed a starting winger. He signed Trossard, but he's never signed the starting winger. It's always eluded him, and it's always eluded the club since Nicolas Pepe debacle. And I wonder if there's some reluctance there. I have to say, all these people saying, maybe we'll get 3 attackers in. I'm more worried that we'll get 1 than 3. I think it's more likely that we get 1 than 3. I do have to say I am slightly concerned on this one that we might fall into this trap of not getting them again, and I think it cannot happen. But you've already hearing mutterings of we'd need a sale and this, that and the other. I just can't abide it. We have to get a starting winger in. I absolutely have to, from Rafinha to Mudryk to Neto to it's on and on, and hasn't it? And we've never ever got that player in. This has to be the window we get that one in. But in saying that, I do have to. There is a plethora of options, and I'm not sure there's a perfect one. So, who do you want to sign as your winger or another elite attacker alongside the centre forward?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Anthony earlier when we were speaking about the young players. So I'll mention Anthony again here. He is the genius that puts all this together. He could pretty much, Jack, go to our one last season and just find the bit where I speak about Mohamed Kudus and then just clip it and then start it again.
Yeah, exactly. You did. You were the one that spoke about it first, yeah.
I'm like, go get Kudus. Go get Kudus. I like. Don't get me wrong. I like the Rodrigo link. I've got, again, like I said earlier, I've got no problem about quality players and having a plethora of quality players in our squad. I just don't see that one happening personally.
Me neither.
And I think, and you mentioned it, so I don't want to steal your thunder in case you want to say it first.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Take it.
Yeah, all right. I don't see us signing 2 forwards without one of them being within the league.
54% since 2021.
Exactly.
That's our numbers.
Exactly. I don't think he buys a winger that starts and a centre forward that starts that's had no experience in English football. I can't see him doing that when already you're buying a 6 that's never played in England as well. So I'm like, all 3 of your deals, all 3 of your major deals that you've done this season, and none of them have got any experience within this league. I can't see him doing it, Jack.
Right.
So I believe that the winger will be from within the league. Now, if you'd have said what I want, Kudus 100%, but Jack as well, I'd have gone from Mbuemo. I love Mbuemo. I really do love Mbuemo, and that link with them lot down the road absolutely pains me now, especially that he's become their manager. I look at it and I go, we ain't got nobody that's really absolutely rapid apart from Martinelli, but when he is rapid, he doesn't really use it. We got no one that outperforms XG really at all. So that's why I'm going for Kudus again, like you mentioned with me all the time. The dribbling, the goals out of nothing, the assists. We need that sort of X factor type player, and I know he's another left footer, so it would be a case of, well, is he going to be, Saka back up, or he can play on the left hand side? I've seen him do it. I've seen him play as a 9 as well. He's played everywhere for West Ham. So, but for me, he is a real X factor player that, when we're going to certain teams, especially these teams that play the block, you've got to be thinking, especially with Zubamendi, and like I've put here with Sesko, when Sesko's going to drop in and he's 6'5", when he collects the ball and the way that he can hold up and link in, the minute he's pinged that pass to a wide player, he's going to go. And you know how good he is in the air. He's much better in the air than Gyökeres, who I want. But when that ball potentially is going to come in from that wide area, you're going to have 2 defenders going, well, should we try and ping him in the air? Because, they're going to be like, he's 6'5". Do we try and get 2 on that? And that might leave 1 beyond. So I'm like, that's the kind of winger you want as much mobility as possible, because we're going to be playing so much more down with these potential players that we're looking at. We are going to completely change the way we play. This last season that we've had, I think the football, apart from certain games, has been turgid, Jack. I think it's been absolutely turgid. And I blame a lot of that on not just Arteta in terms of what he's doing, but the recruitment's been absolutely shocking, especially from the season that we had. Yeah, the season that we had before, we messed up all them window. We messed up that summer window and we messed up that January window. Like I mentioned earlier, he can't afford to do that, and we can't afford to do that. So this is why I'm saying, get these X Factor players in, because I think the way that we can play with all these potentially coming in, we are, teams are going to, I think teams now are taking us a lot more seriously, but they're really going to go, oh shit, if we have these sort of players.
Yeah. The one issue, I put Kudus down as well as my want. I think it's 85 million release clause, so I put 80 million. But you're going to probably have to pay that. I think he's again got like a 10-day window at the start of July where he's got this release clause put in. Spoke to my West Ham season ticket holding fan on Twitter just now, and he says Kudus will definitely leave, in his opinion. He said definitely leave. And he says he's refused multiple Saudi offers and he wants to stay in the Premier League. And I look at it and I'm like, what other team? I do think I could see Newcastle going in for Kudus, because I do think their need is more at the right than ours is. You could see other top clubs going in for Kudus, no question about it. There'd be a lot of the top 6 clubs going in for him. So
just looking at it, that pushes the summer spend to 255 million.
Does it? Hold on a minute. Well, if I've reevaluated it here.
You got Kepa for 5 mil, Hato for 35 mil, Zubamendi's 55 mil, Sesko 75 mil, and then Kudus at 80 to 85 pushes it to 250 to 255, if my maths is correct.
Yeah, that sounds...
that completely blows our buffer away, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 250. Yeah, 250. We said, 10 million buffer? Well, not too bad. 235, 10 million buffer. Not terrible. Can make it work. We'll make it work.
Hato's a maybe, isn't he?
Yeah.
So take his 35 mil away. That puts us at 55. Puts us about 220.
220. Yeah.
What did we say? 210, 215?
210. Well, no, the budget was 235.
We're in then.
We're right there. We're right there.
Yeah.
You're probably closer because you put Gyökeres, which is about 5-10 million less than Sesko. So, but the reason I like Kudus, the profile, I think you're right. I can't envisage one of these two forwards not coming from within the league, and I don't believe the forward's going to be Watkins, and I can't see another centre forward in the league. So I'm like, so I've always been of the mindset the wingers coming from within the league. Now there are other options in the league, to be fair, which we'll get to, but I do think the reason I like Kudus is he's multi-positional. Now he's more of a right winger and a cover at left wing, and we need a starting left winger. But I've always said I don't think there is a perfect left winger out there. You might have said Williams, but Williams isn't going to come to Arsenal. That ship sailed a long time ago when it's his wage, and he doesn't want to leave Spain, I don't think. And if he does leave Spain, he's going to leave for extra astronomical wage that only teams like Bayern and PSG pay. And we're not going to pay that. We're not going to pay Williams, who's got his best season, which is 6 goals in the league, a higher wage than Bukayo Saka. How does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to do that. If I was Saka, I'd be livid if we bought Williams and put him on 350 grand a week while I'm sitting here on, I don't know what he's on, 2 to 250. I'd be livid, wouldn't you? I'd be absolutely livid.
And he's due for renewal as well.
And he's due for renewal. So he'd go in and he'd go, I want more than him.
Yeah, and he deserves more.
He deserves it.
He's our best player.
Yeah, to be fair, and other attackers might do that as well. Havertz might go, well, I want more than him as well. Because I'm more proven than him up here as well. It doesn't make any sense financially, the Williams one for us. Now, if you're bringing in Rodrigo and you're putting him on those sort of numbers, I don't think they'd have the argument, because he's won things. He's a Brazilian international. He's won everything in the game in club level. That would be different. And I do think, Rodrigo is very high on our list, but I don't like waiting for a player in attack. I don't think we should be taking that risk on a player that's, in fairness with Rodrigo, not proven in the league either. And there's no guarantees with Brazilian players coming from star teams into this league. I'd have some worries, certainly on off the ball stuff. What Rodrigo might do for all his talent.
That's
fantastic talent.
Martinelli, as much as you can knock what he's been doing down that end of the pitch, the guy bloody grafts.
Yeah.
And the fullbacks love him because he will protect the fullback as well. He works so tirelessly. Rodrigo does not give you that at all. I mean, if you look at the Real Madrid game at home that we played against them, and I know a lot of people were like, oh, that's the worst Real Madrid and whatever. I'm like, you only downplayed it because Arsenal beat them. Behave yourself. When they beat Man City, you were glazing them. So don't give me the rubbish about, Arsenal beat them, so they're crap now type thing. But none of them in that front three wanted to work for anything.
No, that's why it was so easy to bypass them.
Arteta ain't having that. And also, and I've been, have I been there as much as I'd like? No. But when I have sat there, and I've been very fortunate a few times to actually sit behind the dugout, he's constantly on Martinelli. Constantly. Gabby, constantly yelling, come here, do that. But Rodrigo will turn around and go, shut the fuck up. I can't see him putting up with it, because he'll be like, I've won everything. So don't you start, telling me, go here, do this, do it. He will just turn around and go to him, fuck off. Yeah. Shut your mouth.
Exactly.
I'm doing
That's what I'm worried about.
And that's, I'm like, Arteta doesn't like maverick players.
He's a maverick, isn't he, Rodri? Everyone's just trying to tell me how hard he works, and I was like, I'm sure he does at times, but I don't think you're understanding this is the level Mikel Arteta requires from his wide players. I mean, sometimes they're playing as wing backs.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah,
and he's not going to do that. I can't envisage that.
No. To me, he's like a superstar player that he's, I don't want to compare him, because for me, he's one of the best I've ever seen in the league, let alone Europe. Eden Hazard. You knew you'd get everything, but he ain't going to graft.
No.
And for me,
you've got a coach that's
Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Mo Salah. He won't graft for you. Yeah. He'll score you goals and goals and goals. But for me, I don't think Arteta wants that kind of winger. No. I know we're talking about how we need the assists and the goals to go up, but he ain't doing that at the expense of the hard work and the dedication, which is why I can't. And don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to completely dismiss Rodri. Just in my head, I cannot see Mikel Arteta. I can see Berta wanting him.
Yeah.
Because again, he's another one, like you mentioned earlier. That 10 or that 14. You put 14 Rodrigo on a shirt, they're queuing outside that armoury straight away, aren't they? Yeah. Before it opens, It's 10 to 9 now. They open at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
By 9:30, most of them shirts are gone.
Right. Yeah. But he doesn't strike me as it doesn't fit. I mean, everyone's saying he's one of our top targets, right, Rodrigo? So I assume there's some truth.
Well,
there.
Again, when there's a player like that available, do you take? But I cannot see Arteta.
No. I do think there's a chance he leaves still this summer, because I don't think he'll play left wing for him. I don't see how he does, unless they play 4-4-2, but it doesn't really. I don't see how he does. But the reason I like Kudus, he's multi-positional. Kudus reminds me of the right-sided Alexis, to be honest. That's what I always think he's like. He's the top of every chart, whether it's good or bad. Most duels won, probably most duels lost, most dribbles, most lost dribbles, most shots. He's just all action. And I know he's not had a great season, but the season he came in under West Ham, he was a revelation for them. And last season, West Ham were dreadful. So no one really had a good season for West Ham last season. They were dreadful. Paqueta was dreadful. Bowen was doing a little bit, but they were dreadful generally. West Ham sacked their manager, all that sort of stuff. Kudus I like, but Rodrigo, in fairness, very multi-positional too. I can see why Mikel Arteta would like that about him. Versatility in the front line. Xabi Simons is another one that we love, because he's like that. He's more of a left winger, but attacking midfielder, could play on the right. I mean, I've got his positional stats up here just because I thought I'd compare him, but he's played 59 left wing, 41 attacking midfield, 27 right wing. Great balance. But then you look at Kudus, 19 left wing.
Would Leipzig sell us Sesko and Siemens in the same window?
I do wonder with
love it.
Leipzig stuff. Are we going for Sesko? Is it someone else? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they're talking about that Noosa again this morning. Before I come on with you, all my Twitter feed was about this Noosa again. And I'm like, sorry, don't know enough about him.
Yeah. Young rookie, feels Mudricky at the moment.
Yeah.
But I like versatile wingers that can play centrally.
Oh God, yeah.
Like the thought of that, but my choice would be Kudus. And then, do you have any additionals there? Is there any signing that you missed? We're done, aren't we? Really?
I mean, in terms of sales up there, Marquinhos has pocketed us 2.5 mil.
Oh, lovely.
So there's that you can take off. He's a winger that we've sold for 2.5 mil. I've put Trossard down as a sell here, Jack.
Yeah, me too, because I don't think we spend that big on a winger unless we make the Trossard sale. Like, you could get a 30-40 million winger, but I don't know where that market is really, and I don't.
Well, especially within the league,
right?
If you're buying
1 million in the league,
if you're buying a winger from within the league, they're going to cost you over 60 mil, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because Mbuemo's going to cost you more than a 60 mil. Not that I'm saying we're going for him, but you look at it, you're going, well, it's Mbuemo, it's Kudus, or it's Semenyo, or even Gordon.
Yep,
they're all going to cost you
higher than all of them probably.
They're all going to cost you over 60 mil.
Yeah, exactly.
So and the other sale that I've done here, and again, you can put. I've put 10 million on this because I just don't know. Finally, Nelson, 100 grand a week. Just bye-bye.
10 million. I'll take that.
I know that's gonna upset people because I know a lot of people have a lot of love for a lot of these Howland boys, but for me, again, Anthony can clip it because I've said it so many times. I've never seen it. I've never seen it with him, Jack. Even when he had a run, I've never seen it with Reece Nelson.
No.
Now, would I have taken him last season over Raheem Sterling? Yes. But I'd have had Neil over Raheem Sterling. So,
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? No, sorry, Neil. You know,
Yeah, sorry, Neil.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had you, Neil. I wouldn't have had you, mate. Sorry, mate. So, in terms of what Mikel Burt will
Neil's
do,
better in the air than him. That's why I'd have had him.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of what Burt and Mikel will do, we don't know, obviously, but what do we think? I mean, obviously, we think they're going to do Kepa and Zubi because that is almost done, dusted.
Yeah.
In terms of the striker position, do we think they're going to go for Gyökeres? Do you think Mikel will get convinced to go for Gyökeres?
Gyökeres is like we spoke about earlier in that if other dominoes fall, so you have to do the cheaper option. I from what we got told about Berta at Atletico Madrid, he sort of was very good with these agents and these intermediaries and these clubs about having stuff lined up, and it was just a case of, right, it's ready to go if that's what we want to do. But if we don't want to do that, I've got this one, I've got that one, I've got this one, I've got this. So I think we've got stuff in the pipeline or the chain, whatever way you want to call it. And it's just like, right, if a domino falls over there, we'll go over here. If that doesn't, previously we've been scrambling. Like, look what happened on the last day.
Yeah.
It was only because Edu had a bloody good relationship with Kia Jarabchan that managed to get us a goalkeeper that, bloody hell, he played one game, and that one game, Jesus Christ, and he got sent off for handballing it outside the area, and he looked like a tit the whole way throughout. Raheem Sterling was another one. They wanted to get rid of him. Mikel Arteta had him previously, and he probably thought, I've transformed Jorginho. I've made Jorginho good. I've made Havertz good. I can strike 3 times. No, you couldn't. So we can't be scrambling on the last day, ending up with bums again. And I don't think we will. I think this guy, as much as I said Arteta's got to get this right, he has. Because he's under the microscope, he's coming in under big fanfare, under big pressure. So he's got to deliver. But yeah, like I said, I think he lines stuff up and it's like, right, if that falls, this happens. I still believe that Sesko's the one that they really, really want. Well, more so Arteta really, really wants. So then, it all depends on where we go from there, because winger-wise...
What do you think he'll do at winger?
I think it's defo someone from within the league.
Yeah. So who else we got? Semenyo, can we say Kuda? So Semenyo, Gordon, Matoma. Don't think it'll be Matoma. Semenyo, I think he wants Gordon, because every time I hear Ornstein speak, it's the first name that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll get Gordon, because I don't think they'd sell him to us, and it'd be an extraordinary fee. British tax, all that.
Yeah, I'm like, they would if they had to, wouldn't they?
If they had to, yeah.
Yeah. And also, Villa are so in the crap with this PSR. that I'm like, could you put Rodgers as a left winger?
I know. I thought about that. Well, what is his positional stats? I mean, am I off on thinking he's played mostly midfield?
Well, yeah. To me, I always see him as an 8.
Yeah, that's what
I feel like he's an 8 or a 10, but I could be way wrong.
Yeah, I don't think he's played.
I'm hardly watching Villa under a microscope.
No, same here. I'm trying to see for the last. They usually do last 50 games or something like that. It's not loading. Hold on. They're saying he's 55 mil. No way. He'll go for like 80, won't he? Oh no. He's played 83 games at left winger and only 46 in attacking midfield.
Oh, well, there we go. Can you bung him on? Can he be bunged on the list?
Sure. Should we assume that Mikel does? I think Mikel will do Semenyo, or I said Gordon, but maybe Rodgers. But Rodgers would cost him a fortune.
If Rodgers is a possibility, do it, because I in terms of
I don't think they say
in terms of duels and having a bit of a nasty streak.
Yeah,
I'd love him. He ran us ragged in the games that we played up there.
Yeah,
I mean we were lucky. Obviously, Watkins and Ray are making them say, but he was superb against us that game.
8 goals, 10 assists last season as well.
We need that.
Yeah.
We need someone who can get double digits in both. That's the bare minimum requirement. Can you get double digits in goals or assists as our winger?
Just 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, you know. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's for me. It's got to be someone. Yeah, it's got to be someone within the league, because I can't see him doing all of the business this season for people. I mean, going off. Not that last season me and you got every single thing wrong, especially me.
No, we both did.
Well, Kepa's from within the league. Yeah. Hato, going off what we've done here. Kepa, Hato, Zubimendi, Sesko, or Akudus. Yeah. Well, Hato, Zubimendi, and Sesko, they're not from within the league. So I cannot see us doing the winger from without the league either.
I can't look beyond the league wingers, because in order to do that, I'd need to see the centre forward, and I can't see a centre forward that's coming from within the league. No, I don't think it'll be Watkins.
Well, the only striker that I thought we would look at from within the league is now at Chelsea, and that was Delap. Because I don't see any of the others.
No.
João Pedro looks like he's all about certain going to Newcastle, and to me, I like João Pedro. Don't get me wrong. I liked him when he was at Watford, but I would have him as an option. I wouldn't have him starting. If we got João Pedro as our main striking target, I would be incredibly underwhelmed, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans would be.
Yeah, big time.
You want someone that's what they call it, raising the floor, whatever it is, whatever terminology they use these days. I'm like, he ain't a level raiser. That's all.
Nah, good player, but yeah, Newcastle seem pretty heavy in on him, don't they? So that'd be interesting. But let's quickly go through before we go. How much on sales? What do you reckon we'll get for Zinni, or will he go?
I'm hoping he does go, but again, we paid 35 for him, right?
Yeah. I've put 12 because of his wage.
See, in my head, just before you said 12, I was looking at about 15 to 20.
Okay.
So I'll meet you in the middle. I'll say about 18.
Okay, 18.
Should I pluck? Yeah, we'll pluck for 18.
What do you reckon we'll get for Kivior, or do you think we'll keep him?
I think he's going to be kept.
Kept. Okay.
I think he's going to be kept.
Yeah, let's say kept.
Yeah.
Trossard, 25, 30?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
No movement on that contract as yet either.
No.
We're saying Party leaves, but could easily say, but we're saying Party leaves.
Yeah, but we're getting nothing. We'll get nothing for him, will we? Because
nothing for him.
From July the 1st, he's done.
Yeah.
So.
Tavares 7 million, Sambi 6 million. I put. I think you said Vieira. I put a loan with obligation. I'll say 12. 2.5 million for Marquinhos. Hine I put down as 4 million.
Nice.
Is there any other sale in there that you're
Nelson.
envisaging? Oh, Nelson, you put. I put 7-0.
Yeah.
But I mean, that all adds up a little bit if you do truly get that, right? 19, 22, 28, because the Trossard money, 58. You're talking 58. Yeah, you're talking about 75 mil recouping. I mean, if we get 75 mil recoup, we've done really well.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll be happy with that.
I'd take that all day. I don't think it will necessarily happen, but I'd take that all day. And then that budget would become a bit more likely. So we have ended with James saying the window is going to be, or he wants it to be, it's going to be, this is what he wants it to be. Kepa, Hato, Zubamendi, Gyökeres, Kudus. That'd be an amazing window, wouldn't it?
That's what I want.
Yeah, and I've gone pretty much close to yours, but I've switched out Gyökeres for Sesko, and the Hato one for both of us was like a question mark. Could easily be a centre back.
But again, sorry for repeating myself, but you're spot on in that, and I won't budge on that. If you don't get Sesko, you got to get Gyökeres. If you don't get Gyökeres, you got to get Sesko.
Yeah. I don't really see another option.
No,
unless it comes completely out of the blue, but not seeing it. Well, usually what we do is we wait on this and see if something happens. So hopefully in the next week or two, we start to see some movement on the striker or the winger.
Once the podcast is out is when they actually start. I think there's people within the club that look and go, these two are coming, they're coming in hot for us,
Exactly. That's exactly what
I can't add up, but I can tell you what players I think are good. I could do that side. I think don't have me doing the maths because we'll be skint.
Exactly. We've already gone above budget. It's been the biggest budget ever. No, we never know. We'll get the load released.
Don't have me doing your shop, but I can identify, but don't give me the cards. That's what, don't give me the cards to spend it.
Well, look, we're already doing better than last year because Kepa and Zubamendi are gonna happen, and we've put them on our list. So
they need to. We've
got those right.
Like I said earlier, if Zubamendi does not come in, I'm an Ornstein fan, but that's scorched earth for him.
Yeah, exactly. The only 1% worry is
you will not recover from that.
No, we're getting a good load of Basque players, aren't we? From Spain, but hey, Wenger did similar stuff when he was getting players from France. It makes sense. So let's hope they're the good ones. So that's all we hope. But we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. We will be back, sort of semi-periodically throughout the transfer window, especially if something happens, something big happens and gets announced, the striker, the winger, the number 10, 14 shirts are taken, we'll be hanging them up behind us and chatting about the players because we need to get those shirts taken. I like a lot of the options we've spoken about. The important thing is the club has to realise they have to take a calculated risk. They have to. There is no perfect option out there. Maybe Isaac was the perfect option. There is not a perfect option out there, and you can't wait another 12 months like you did from last, because it really, I think it cost us quite a lot, and it could cost us again. So we've got to take your chance. People took a chance on Isaac.
It's not a case of it's going to cost the club. It's going to cost him his job, Jack.
Yeah, it's going to, exactly.
I'm like you are at you are last dance, whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy you want to use here. Yep. You are literally shit or bust City. So yeah.
Yep. It's huge for him. These two signings probably going to define what remains of his Arsenal managerial career, really, because they have to hit, at least one of them has to hit immediately, and that, I think, because otherwise, look at how big the other teams around us are strengthening. It's just City. I mean, City have made a lot of interesting signings for me, but Liverpool won the league and they've gone and got two new fullbacks, arguably better ones, certainly on the left, I think, and one of probably the biggest sign in the summer in Florian Wirtz. So, and then it sounds like they're going to spend more as well. So we have to move, James. We've got to move, but there's still time. So keep the faith up the Arsenal. Hopefully we get a few right this transfer window. But if we don't, it's okay, because it was just what we wanted.
Yeah, I'm big enough and ugly enough. I took it all last season, so I'll take it again. But what I will say is, and if we can toot our own horn here. Declan Rice, we called, that was my little sauce there that I had. Yeah. Zinchenko, we called months before it happened.
Yeah.
Tommy Asu, we told you about before it happened.
Tommy Asu, that was a good one. Yeah, we called it that.
We've got previous. We have got previous. Not saying that we're completely ITK or whatever, but look, there's a lot of people in this game, and they're charging you $15.99, maybe even more if you want to go to these ultra level tiers that they do have. We're doing this completely for free, so we're not charging you anything. You know, you're not obligated to listen to us.
Absolutely,
because you're paying for us. So, as always, thank you very much, Jack. And
top man.
I know at the end of the season that I did my big thank you list, but I'll just repeat on here just quickly. I want to thank you especially because there was a lot of times last season we all couldn't get together, and you had fires and you had personal stuff that happened. I won't bring that up, but you know, you still were doing those solo video. I know how hard that can be. I've done those solo podcasts for myself and I hate doing it. So well done there. Obviously, Mike, he's had stuff going on in his life. I won't bring it up, but yeah, well done to him and his channel and what he's been doing. Neil as well. He's always come on here with you when he can. So yeah, and Anthony, I've mentioned you twice. I'll mention you a third time.
He'll love it.
Thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, you're top, man.
And thanks everyone that's watched or listened and, you know, chatted to us and everything because, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're a top man. Thanks, James. And
thank you.
Thanks for always coming on when we asked you to. Sorry, it's been a little inconsistent on my end, especially in the last few months of the season. It's completely my fault. I did try to do the individual ones, but it's not the same as getting on a podcast. I know that much. So sorry, something just come off my screen there. But we are at Purely Arsenal FP. Give us a like. We don't charge anything, but give us a like, a subscribe on YouTube. That always helps. But yeah, we don't charge anything. Always free, no ads, no nothing like that. But we're at Purely Arsenal FP. We're on YouTube. Subscribe there, but we're also on your Apple Podcast app, just Spotify, all that. So thank you, Anthony, for doing that. James, thank you. Mike, Neil, we missed you, but we'll get you on the one where we got the post striker and winger edition, so we can all be happy, smiles and relaxed. It's weird, isn't it? Because until you do it, there's always going to be that frustration and that, you know, reluctance for Arsenal fans to really believe in it, because we've been burned before, haven't we? So the frustration I do understand from Arsenal fans, to be honest. It's a long time coming, really.
We'll do it. We have to.
That's the faith. Keep the faith. Up the Arsenal. Okay. Tune in, guys. Let us know what you think. Cheers.